Yo, what up guys? Welcome back to Sneaker Stories. As always, I'm your host Chris Jack. As promised, finally checking out the remaining 3 models from the Nike Space Hippie pack, Space Hippie 1, 2, and 3. So without further ado, let's check them out. Alright, so if you guys follow me on the sneakerstories.tv Instagram page will know that I managed to get all 3 pairs, or remaining 3 pairs from the Space Hippie pack, at least the ones that I was particularly keen on. Obviously Space Hippie 1, Space Hippie 2, and of course my ultimate favorite of them all, Space Hippie 3. So I'm going to go through each one of them. There are obviously some similarities from a midsole outsole perspective on all 3 of these. It's pretty much the same. So I'm just going to go into some details of the uppers, the fits, the price, and all of that kind of stuff that you want to know. Now I just want to show you the box that these things come in. So this is the shipping box essentially, and the shoe box as well. So Nike doesn't double box this, which was really giving me a lot of anxiety, because we have some issues here, maybe in South Africa, maybe in your country as well, where, you know, if you know what's in the box, sometimes things just don't arrive. That said, I'm very, very happy that I managed to get all 3 of these pairs without any issues. Once you open up the box itself, which is quite a process because you've got to basically cut this tape. I don't know if your guys' boxes were taped like this as well, but you put a knife through there, you basically risk ruining the entire box if you don't do it very, very carefully. So be careful if you do get this. And then when you open up the box, you've got the Space Hippie branding, and this is all printed in a plant-based ink as well. So that's basically better for the environment, of course. And then one of the coolest things about this is they do come with this sort of sling bag or tote bag, which is branded as well, and obviously completely created out of recycled material. You do have a Space Hippie branding on there. I'm pretty sure it only came with Space Hippie 1, 2, and 3. Space Hippie 4, which obviously dropped in those 2 colorways. The pairs that I had here for the early review did not have the bag in, so there that is. Now moving into the shoes, I'm going to try and keep this as quick as possible, as there are a lot of similarities, especially with the outsole midsole combinations on all 3 of these pairs. The colorways pretty much identical on the same, but they do have a lot of different changes when it comes to the upper of the shoes. So this one over here, Space Hippie 1, I'm going to start with the outsole midsole combination. This is the same for all 3 of the pairs, so I'm not going to talk it through on all of them, but basically this is a proprietary foam technology that Nike's created using Nike Grind. So if you look up close to the midsole, you will see these little specks which give it a really nice coloring and texture here in the midsole itself. Now the entire midsole and outsole combination is injected molded. When I flip it underneath, you'll notice you've got quite a bit of traction patterns and some really awesome details which have basically been molded into the shoe itself. But then peeking just through the midsection of the foot here, you will see there's a white material here. Now that is Nike's latest technology, which is called ZoomX foam, which they're using in all their latest running shoes. And this is basically just offcuts from that particular process, which have been molded together. It kind of feels like they've been vacuum packed together here with this bit of plasticky overlay on it. However, that might just be the heating process. I'm not really entirely sure, but that's obviously going to give you quite a bit of comfortability on foot as well. And then maybe just to show you in detail what that actually looks like, the insoles are created out of the same sort of process. So this is all ZoomX material, which has just been compacted together to create other components of the shoe. Now, I just have to say one thing about this particular project, which I'm still not sure I'm 100% on board with. I think this is something Nike can definitely improve for future versions of this particular shoe. However, it doesn't really look like that is happening, because we've already seen the leak of the next colorway, which looks like that. And that really is the Nike Grind elements on this. Overall, from a sustainability perspective, reusing materials to create something is cool, but I think there's only around 12% of Nike Grind in this particular midsole. The rest is a foam, which isn't necessarily recycled. But the biggest problem about the Nike Grind is that it's not actually affixed into the shoe, at least the ones that are visible here on the outer layer of the midsole. So you get these little pieces which just basically fall off. And you know, that's obviously like rubberized or plastic pieces. That essentially is just going to fall off the shoe when you're walking with it, ending up in the oceans, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of this thing. So if any of you from Nike happen to be watching this, maybe look into that. That'll be great. Now moving into the upper of the shoe, as mentioned, all three have a similar colorway. The base coloring of this is obviously that beautiful gray color, and then you've got these crimson hits here done in the swoosh, which are embroidered into the upper. The upper itself between the shoes uses different amounts of recycled material. So you've got leftover scraps from t-shirts, different kind of yarns and things like that, plastic bottles of course, which have been used to create this beautiful variation of fly knit. The Space Hippie 01 over here is obviously sock-like construction as well, but you do have a more traditional, if I can say that, lacing system on this particular pair as well. So it's quite a familiar silhouette and definitely a more popular one. To have a look at that lacing system a bit further, it's a multicolored set of laces over here, a lot of different yellow, orange and green and black in there as well. And then you do have these rubberized loops here on the end of it, which have been stitched in there. And then just below that, you'll notice this kind of snaking effect with further lace that's been embroidered into the upper itself, just to create these lace loops for the shoe. I don't really know how much functionality that's really going to give you on top here. It doesn't really seem like it's going to affect too much, but it might just be one of those things that's more aesthetical than functional, but definitely working on this particular pair. Below that, on all three of these shoes, you do have this overlaid piece. You've got 01 obviously representing the model number of the shoe and Space Hippie logo just above that. Now the one thing I did pick up with the particular pair is that they do ram them in the box. When it comes to the toe box section of the shoe, this has a propensity to collapse because it's got a bit of a harder fabric to it. So if you kind of push that in, or if your toes don't go all the way, you might end up having this little crevice in the toe box, which is something I personally cannot deal with. But perhaps with actual wear of the shoe and once your foot's in there, you're not really going to be bothered by that too much. Swinging around to the heel section of the shoe, you've also got a white pull tab over here with a bit of swoosh branding there. And then swinging around to the medial side of the shoe, you've also got that crimson swoosh over there. The upper material here in this particular section and just across there, and obviously the lateral side of it, has quite a bit of breathability in it as well, just as far as the sort of stitch construction goes. So overall, I think you're getting a really cool shoe here that is going to be breathable, that is going to be comfortable, and is going to look good on foot. Now from a sizing perspective, I did take a true size UK 9 or US 10 for those of you watching in the States, and they fit me absolutely perfectly. You might find it's a little bit tough to get your foot in here initially, but once it's in, it does actually loosen up a little bit around the heel collar section there. Some of you might have a little bit of space in the toe box section just around this particular size, depending on the shape of your foot, but it's not something I would recommend going down a half size or a full size or anything like that, because the shoe itself is quite narrow in terms of its upper construction. Now from a pricing perspective, these were 2,099 Rand excluding shipping obviously from Nike, so they were the cheaper of these particular three, and definitely in my opinion great value for money on this particular project. Anyway, let's move on to the next shoe, which is the Space Hippie 02. Now this particular pair I was 100% going to get, whether I was paying resale or just retail of course, which I was lucky enough to get. It's definitely the most comfortable out of all three that you're going to get. The knit on this particular one is a lot thicker than what you got on the 01 or the 03 that we'll still get to. You can really see just how thick that is in the collar section over here. It is so soft, they're just incredible. I think the reason this particular one has a thicker knit is because it doesn't have any lacing system, so no further support on the particular upper, and obviously you've got quite a different design with the upper itself, still with the same sort of colorway from the grays and crimsons and all of that, but just the layout of that has been completely different. In the toe box section, you've also got this kind of recessed webbing section, which is obviously where your big toe would go. You're either going to love that or you're going to hate that on foot. For me, I don't really mind it too much. I have seen some people whose toes really protrude through that and it kind of looks a little bit weird. So be aware of that if you are wanting to get a pair of these, if that's something that's going to annoy you. Just to show you around the medial side of the shoe, you've got a bit of a bigger version of that overlaid stitching over here. It's created quite a hard surface in there, so to give you a lot of support here in the heel section and the midfoot of the shoe. I mean, that's pretty hard. That obviously continues around the heel section and all the way into the midfoot on the lateral side of the shoe. The swoosh over here obviously just embroidered there with that crimson stitching, and then as you've seen on the Space Hippie 1, but this time it's more exposed, you've got the 02 branding with the Nike Space Hippie done in that pastel yellow, which has been embroidered on that pull tab. Same thing round with the heel tab, it's obviously the same coloring with the same branding on there as well. And then inside the shoe, same insole with that ZoomX compressed material, and then obviously the midsole and outsole combination of the 02 is obviously identical to what you're getting there. Now from a sizing perspective on these, as there is no lacing system, it's purely just a sock-like construction upper. I would maybe have gone down half a size. I don't even know if half sizes were available. However, that might just be a personal preference, as I don't really have too much like pressure in the size of my foot on this particular one. It's a really tough decision to say. I'm happy at true to size. I'll definitely make them work at true to size. I do just have a little bit of space here in the front of the shoe, but I don't think it's enough for me to actually go and mission to find a half size down just to be able to try. Like, I'm happy with true to size. So I hope that helps you. If you do have an opportunity, obviously, to try any of these shoes on before buying, then that's always going to be your safest bet. But yeah, in my opinion, I'm okay at true to size. I might want to have tried a half size down, but that's pretty much it. Now, from a price point, these were slightly more expensive at 2,400 Rand. That's obviously excluding the 250 Rand shipping from Nike, of course. So these are the, I guess, second most expensive pair in the pack. All right, so now, the ultimates, the Space Hippie 03. Now this is rumored to be the rarest of the bunch because this is made from recycled scraps of these ones or something like that, which apparently is why they're the most limited. This has got the most going on with it by far. It was definitely the one that first caught my attention. This I almost paid, I think, $500 resale for from Goat the same day I took an L on these, but then later managed to get them at retail, so really happy with that. Obviously, as you guys can see, and I'll just go into the upper construction here, the lacing system on this is completely different to what you've got on the other two, and something we haven't seen since I think the Jordan 33 or something, which is called the Fast Fit 1.0. Now this basically uses kind of like fly wire over here. Then you've also got this mechanical pull system, so when you want to tighten it, you just like that, and that basically just pulls these little tension ropes which are in this lacing system and basically secures that to your foot. Maybe a little bit risky as it doesn't really look like something that will last. Also, if this breaks, catches on something or something, like I don't know. They're definitely not going to repair it for you. Either way, aesthetically on this particular pair, they look absolutely insane. Like, this is something that is very like Air Maggie stroke Marziardi stroke everything. You're kind of getting it all in this particular pair, and it's just it's one that I absolutely love. The toe box section here, it's got a swoosh embroidery which is dual color. You've got the crimson at top and then a black, kind of a little bit of a shadow effect going on there as well. Then the pull tab over here, which is obviously part of the lacing system, it's just got the words pull on it. You've got that standard sort of overlay with the 03 and the Nike Space Hippie branding on there as well. And then just below that, which also forms part of the lacing system, is this, I guess, a shroud of material which has been stitched over there, and basically these fly wire pieces run through that, basically just securing that to the shoe. And then moving into the heel section, definitely a firm favorite part of this particular pair, and without a doubt influenced by the Nike Air Mag. You do have this heel system over here, which is also part of the lacing system, and towards the bottom, this little orange tab over here is what's going to actually release the tension of these fly wire pieces over here, so it will help you basically get in and out of the shoe. Speaking of that, the first time I put these on, they took me over 10 minutes to get them on my foot, because the opening here in the top section of the collar is really tight. The good news is after a couple of tries and after putting them on for a day or two, that's completely loosened up and it's much easier to get in and out of the shoe. It still completely hugs your ankle. It's a really comfortable shoe to have on foot. And from a sizing perspective on that, I also went true size UK 9 or US 10, and they fit me absolutely perfectly. They are maybe just a little bit narrow, and that's probably because of the fast fit system that's on here, because these little bits here are kind of a hard rubber as well. So I definitely wouldn't recommend sizing down at all on this particular pair unless you've got really narrow feet. But yeah, for me, true to size is absolutely perfect. Now, from a pricing perspective, these did come at the most expensive from all three of these particular models, or all four of them, in fact, at 2,899 Rand extra 250 Rand shipping from Nike, of course. And that's obviously directly attributed to the lacing system and technology that's gone into this particular pair, all the different little bells and whistles that you've got with it. To me, that's absolutely fine from a price point perspective for what I'm getting with this particular pair. But overall speaking, I think this whole collection is super awesome. It's really nice to be able to have a little bit of extras with the shoes. I think great step in the right direction, but I mean, I just actually have to show, I don't know if you guys can see already, 3 pieces of this Nike grind that are just on my table from reviewing this. So that is a massive fail collectively for this entire pack. I really hope it's something that they do take seriously in future generations of the Space Hippie program. It's at least a start, it's at least a move towards a low carbon footprint future for footwear manufacturing from a company as big as Nike, kind of following in the steps of what Adidas has been doing with Parley, I guess, to some degree. So that's something I can definitely support and get behind. Now, there will be some other silhouettes coming out of the Space Hippie program from Nike. We have seen rumored or leaked images of, I think, a Jordan 1 Zoom High and potentially a Dunk as well. Obviously, some other colorways of the existing silhouettes. These new ones that have been created for this particular program are also rumored to be releasing soon. So if you haven't managed to get any of these, and perhaps these colors weren't for you, then you've obviously got a couple of other options coming down the line as well. But that's it from me for this particular review. I hope you guys have found it enjoyable, insightful, or helpful at least. If you do have any further questions or comments on this particular project, please drop them in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe right here, and please give the video a thumbs up for me. That would be amazing. But that's it from me, guys. I'll catch you on the next one.